cosmos point of view is the current gross universe. Then there is one important universe which the entire scientific community failed to understand or refused to understand. I don't know, there is a subtle universe. And then the causal universe at the macrocosmic level. So therefore, Big Bang is nothing but a name given to the point of manifestation of this gross universe from the causal universe. So that manifestation of this gross universe is named as Big Bang. They know a point of singularity that we call it as causal universe, and from there directly they talk about the manifestation of this gross universe. From the causal universe they directly jump to the gross universe. But then in between the subtle universe has to evolve. Therefore the creation evolves in two stages. From the causal universe it manifests to the subtle universe, then from the subtle universe the gross universe emerges. Earlier, we did an in-depth study of human composition in terms of the three bodies: the gross physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. Also, we did the personality layers analysis and the three states of experiences. In all this study, one of the primary concept that we established is that these three bodies are material in nature, right? Thereafter, in the last two video classes, we discussed about the consciousness. The consciousness is the non-material enlivening principle in the individual. So, these two put together, conscious and sentient, right? Fine. This is as far as the individual. Now, apart from the individual, we also discussed the subject-object relationship, that is the world around the individual. So, the world around the individual vary from person to person. For some, the world is just only his own city or the country. For some people, the world is planet Earth. As I said, there are about 10 million thinkers or scientifically oriented intellects. They see the entire cosmos and beyond as the world. In the sense, throughout their life, they had asked all these fundamental questions like, why did this world begin in the first place? And when did the world begin? And from where the whole cosmos started. So all these fundamental questions, these scientifically thinking people, they ask themselves, and in all these classes I said, when we get to the point of creation, we'll discuss, and get to the point of creation, we'll discuss in depth. So now we are going to discuss creation, the topic creation that we are going to discuss. And thanks to the cosmic microwave background, because of that's one of the reason, one of the scientifically validated evidence that Big Bang happened 13.8 billion years ago. 13.8 billion years is just recent past in terms of cosmic time, cosmic scale of time. 13.8 billion years is just next to nothing. Fine. Now, so all this boils down to Big Bang, or what triggered Big Bang, or who banged the Big Bang. In order to understand where is the beginning point where people are baffled with, that is the point of Big Bang, that is 13.8 billion years ago. Now it's simple high school science, law of conservation of matter and energy. So this you all will have to agree that matter and energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, can be transferred from one form to another form. Therefore, if you find 13.8 billion years ago, out of nothing, so much of matter, including space, for the point of singularity, what the scientific community means is a state before the Big Bang is called singularity. So at the point of singularity or at the point of Big Bang, huge amount of matter and space cannot come out of nothing. So based on law of conservation of matter and energy, it only implies the entire matter in the entire cosmos must have been in its unmanifest form or a dormant form or a potential form in terms of potential energy form. It should have existed before. Now the natural question is, from where did this potential form, dormant form of energy came from? So that's a valid question that we are going to analyze later. So we have to start from somewhere. So all we can understand is it cannot come from nothing. It has to come from an unmanifest form. So when you say unmanifest form, it is existent but not perceptible and transactable. So that is the first state of the singularity. The entire cosmos, the entire universe must have been existed in the unmanifest form. So that causal form, we call it as causal form or causal universe. Now from the individual point of view, from the microcosmic point of view, it's the gross physical body, subtle body and causal body. From the cosmos point of view is the current gross universe. Then there is one important universe which the entire scientific community failed to understand or refused to understand. I don't know, there is a subtle universe. And then the causal universe at the macrocosmic level. Just like in the universals, in the study of the universe, at the macrocosmic study is as astrophysics and microcosmic study is quantum physics. Likewise, we have this causal universe and the causal body from the individual point of view and the totality point of view, macrocosmic point of view. So therefore, Big Bang is nothing but a name given to the point of manifestation of this gross universe from the causal universe. So that manifestation of this gross universe is named as Big Bang. So therefore, the name we are discussing creation topic, but what we have to understand is the name creation is a misnomer. All we can only say is we can discuss manifestation. As we say, before Big Bang, the entire universe exists in potential form or causal form of the universe. Now as it manifests, this exists for a period of time. That period of time until now is 13.8 billion years. We don't know how long it's going to exist, but it will continue to exist until the point of total annihilation or total dissolution, or scientists call it as Big Crunch. Therefore, this causal universe is a beginningless entity. This aspect we need to understand. Why beginningless entity? Now go back to law of conservation of matter and energy. If the entire universe have come from its potential unmanifest form, it continues to exist, it has to naturally go to Big Crunch, total dissolution. And the entire universe, when it annihilates, entire matter cannot go into nothing. It has to convert into energy form. The same, the matter, antimatter, when it comes to collide, the entire matter gets converts into energy. So the same principle at the point of Big Crunch. Then the whole thing exists for a period of time, and then again it manifests, unmanifest, manifest, unmanifest. This is a continuous cyclic process. Therefore, the causal universe is a beginningless entity. Also, earlier we discussed about consciousness. So, this consciousness is eternal. It also exists before Big Bang, and it is also a beginningless entity. So, as far as the consciousness and the causal universe, both are beginningless in nature, and the consciousness is non-material in nature. The causal universe is material in nature, but in its potential form, material or energy in nature, but in its potential form. And consciousness is consciousness by itself, and the causal universe will be inert and insentient, and the consciousness throughout remains changeless and eternal. This causal universe is continuously changing, manifesting and manifesting, manifesting and manifesting, and consciousness is formless, and the causal universe has lot of potential form embedded into it, as it were. So therefore, the manifestation of when the causal universe manifests, it's the combination of the consciousness and the causal universe. The manifestation of this gross universe happens in two stages, manifestation or creation. It doesn't happen in one stage. And these two stages can be subdivided into 25 stages, or 25, you can say it happens in the order of 25 components or principles, or 25 stages. In the first stage, 20 components will be created. In the second stage, 5 components. Now, when I say two stages, by this time you would have guessed to what I am coming to. There is an unmanifest universe, we call it as causal universe. From the causal universe evolves the subtle universe first, and from the subtle universe, this gross tangible universe that we all see, that evolves. Now, obviously, you might think this guy is spinning stories. Fine. We analyzed earlier, there is a causal body, subtle body and gross physical body. Now, what is the subtle body that we discussed earlier? Subtle body, the building blocks are thoughts, and the subtle body consists of the mind, gross intellect, subtle intellect, memory, ego, together 5, plus 15 other components that we discussed earlier. This is as far as one human being is concerned. This is the subtle body. Now collect all the subtle bodies of all human beings in planet Earth. In Milky Way galaxy, there are billions of planets. So there will be Goldilocks zones. In those Goldilocks zones, I'm not saying there is a good possibility human being can live there. Fine. As of now, consider wherever they are, the aggregate of all the mind and intellect and memory, ego of all human beings. Then the animals have subtle body, right? They have little memory and some emotions. So it goes to establish they have mind. Once they have mind, then they have the powers of perception, powers of action, powers of energy centers that we talked about. So animals also have that. So animals have subtle body. Does plant have subtle body? For practical purposes, no. But plants are living beings. So they have a trace of subtle body in them, all put together. Then what about the inert objects? The inert object doesn't have a subtle body. That's what we discussed earlier. However, the entire inert objects of the world, for it to exist, there must be the power of inertia. There is a subtle power of inertia behind all the inert objects of the world for it to exist. So this collection of all the subtle bodies put together in this planet Earth, extrapolate to the Milky Way galaxy, then extend it to the entire galaxy systems that what Hubble have discovered, now what James Webb Telescope is continuing to discover, those all form the observed universe, observable universe. Collect all the subtle bodies of all beings and unobservable universe. Observable universe, who says this term observable universe? A human being's limitation. Human beings' limitation, or the limitation to the maximum extent they observe the universe, they call it observable universe. Just because human being is limited to observe, that doesn't mean beyond the observable universe you cannot say that nothing exists. In fact, you go to the point of the extreme boundary of observable universe. If you can go from that point, you can have another observable universe, and it's endless. Fine. So the point I'm trying to make is the aggregate combination of entire subtle bodies of all beings put together forms the subtle universe. Now, don't you agree there is a huge gap in the research and analysis of the scientific community in terms of the creation, in terms of when did the world begin? They know a point of singularity that we call it as causal universe, and from there directly they talk about the manifestation of this gross universe. From the causal universe they directly jump to the gross universe. But then in between the subtle universe has to evolve. Therefore the creation evolves in two stages. From the causal universe it manifests to the subtle universe, then from the subtle universe the gross universe emerges. And how it emerges, that we are going to discuss. So we are going to discuss the first stage of manifestation or creation. We call it creation, doesn't matter, even though it's a misnomer, but people understand creation is manifestation. So from the causal universe we are going to analyze how the subtle universe manifests. Again, we understood what is subtle universe: congregation of all the subtle bodies of entire universe. Now, before we get into the deeper analysis, we will go from what we know now. If you observe this manifested gross universe, what you observe in this universe? As far as the human beings are concerned, in daily or in their lifetime, they do only 3 activities. The entire activities can be classified into 3. That's the right way to put it. Human beings, either they take in knowledge, either they continuously know things in life, or they act. Whatever they know, they try to implement in their life. That is action. When they take in the process of knowledge, knowing, and then react within, and then acting throughout the day, what happens? The faculties get tired, they go on to resting. So entire human activities can be classified into these 3: knowing, acting, resting. Knowledge, action, inertia. You can equate that. Knowledge, action, inertia. This is as far as human beings. What animals do? Animals don't take in knowledge. I mean, people, animal lovers, they argue animals do take in knowledge. They are taking in knowledge instinctively. We are talking about human being using their full extent of intellect to gather knowledge deliberately, consciously. So there is little difference, not little difference, big difference between animal learning things and human being knowing things. So for all practical purpose, we can conclude animals only act and rest. Act, rest. And as far as the plants, they also act and rest. Their action, some slightly there is manifestation, but many of the actions of plants are by inference. Plants also act and rest. These 2 activities. And entire inert objects of this gross observable universe what do? The inert objects, they just rest, right? So then the entire known universe, what you observe is knowing, acting and resting. So in that tree, is there any gradation? Obviously, knowledge is considered superior to action, and action is considered superior to resting or idle or being inert or inertia. So the whole universe has these three components embedded into it, as it were. Knowing component, knowing power, acting component or acting power, or inertia component or power of inertia. These three are inherent intrinsic property of the gross universe. If this manifested universe have these three properties, what can we conclude? The source from where this gross universe manifested, the source will have these three components in it. This, can you agree? What I mean is, the causal universe, the potential universe, the causal form of the universe will have the knowledge component in it, the acting component in it, and the inertia component in it embedded in the unmanifest form. Up to this extent, I hope you all can agree. So for the subtle universe to manifest from the causal universe, it has to manifest in terms of material. So we need to understand what are the building blocks. When we say subtle universe, it's collection of enormous thoughts, because one subtle body is one individual's mind, intellect, memory, ego plus 15 components. So aggregation of all mind, intellect, memory, ego plus needs some building blocks. So the entire building blocks of subtle universe are thoughts. Fine, you keep that aside. And in earlier analysis, I have explained the thoughts are made of combination of pure states of matter. Fine. So again, I will explain that one more time in detail. But bottom line is, there will be fundamental building blocks of matter, or fundamental states of matter. Because causal universe is state of singularity doesn't have even concept of space, component of space in it. So for it to manifest in terms of first subtle universe, the building blocks are the 5 fundamental states of matter, because there could be so many states of matter, but all those states of different states of matter we are still discussing in the subtle realm. In the gross realm, there are so many states of matter. I think more than 20 or 30 states of matter. But all these different states of matter, you can bring down into 5 fundamental states of matter. What are they? Space. Space is a positive substance or positive matter that you all agree. As I said, from the point of singularity, if space emerges, space is created, as you say, then it has to be a positive substance. Fine. The building blocks for subtle universe or subtle body is, it has to be pure space, emergence of pure space, emergence of pure gaseous state, then fire or pure plasma state, then the fourth is pure liquid state, and finally pure solid state. So space, gas, plasma, liquid, solid. This will be the 5 fundamental states of matter. Now, in order for easy understanding, we can use these states of matter, or based on availability of abundance in planet Earth. From now on, we will use these 5 terms as fundamental states of matter, that is space, air. Instead of gas, I will use the terminology air, and instead of plasma, I will use the terminology fire. Instead of liquid, I will use the terminology water, and for Solid, I will use the terminology earth. So the 5 fundamental states of matter can be named as space, air, fire, water, earth. Now what I am saying is, the initial building blocks are pure states of this matter. Pure state of this matter in the sense, pure space, space alone must be there. It should not have any other rest of the 4 fundamental states of matter. Likewise, air, only pure air. Pure air shouldn't have space, shouldn't have temperature component in it, shouldn't have any water component or liquid aspect in it. Likewise, all the pure fire, pure water, pure earth. Now you have to stretch your intellect, use your power of imagination and visualize pure space, pure air, pure fire, pure water and pure earth. Fine. This you agree, this will be the fundamental building blocks for the subtle body or subtle universe. For ease of understanding, I will again stick to one unit, that is the subtle body. Instead of every time bringing the observable universe, cosmos, I will analyze with the subtle body is also an aspect of the total subtle universe. Just a while ago in earlier discussion, I mentioned the causal universe will have the strand of knowing component, acting component and resting component, right? If the causal universe has that strand, 3 strands embedded into it, now if we see the pure state of matter emerging from causal universe, the same 3 strands will be an aspect of these 5 pure states of matter. Are you able to visualize? I'll repeat. From the observable gross universe, we see the entire universe dynamics is knowing, acting and resting. Then we concluded that if the manifesting, knowing, acting, resting that we observe, if it has come from the causal universe, the causal universe will have these 3 aspects ingrained in it. Now these 5 pure states of matter emerging from causal universe, these 5 pure states of matter will have a knowledge component in it, action component in it and inertia component in it. Agreed? So now the next step is you will have to visualize, or maybe you will have a picture to see. Space will have a knowledge component, action component, resting component, pure space. Pure air will have its knowledge component, action component, inert component. Better I repeat. Repeat means for rest of the pure states of matter. Pure fire will have its own knowledge component, it has its own action component and resting or inertia component, fire. Water, pure water will have its knowledge, acting, resting, inertia. Pure earth, pure solid state of matter will have knowledge component, action component, resting component. Right? Now we are still in the realm of causal universe trying to form the subtle universe. I am not talking about the gross tangible universe. Fine. Now we are only discussing how the subtle universe is evolving from the causal universe. Many people simultaneously would ask why it has to evolve from causal universe to subtle universe and then to gross universe. Again, simple science, simple law, Newton's first law, I think it's first law, yeah. I'll just read it out. What does Newton's first law say? An object at rest remains at rest, or if the object is in motion, it remains in motion at a constant velocity unless acted upon by an external force, right? This is Newton's law of motion. Now, why it emerges is the same. An external force is acting on the inert causal universe. The external force is cumulative effect of all past actions of all human beings, animals and plants. All past actions, cumulative effect, that is the external force disturbing the equilibrium. That is why the universe is formed. In fact, it's going to be a separate topic that we will discuss, law of past actions. So that will be in philosophical terms, people term it as law of karma. But for the sake of understanding of all the people who speak only English, I would term it as law of cumulative past actions. We are still in the early stage of creation of the subtle universe, manifestation of the subtle universe. Otherwise, in the very early stage of Big Bang of the subtle universe. We still long way to go to the actual Big Bang known by the scientist. Now, for all of you to understand this manifestation of subtle universe, you will have to go to the earlier analysis of subtle body. The bottom line is thoughts are made of matter. This I have been stating, because unless you get convinced, then the consciousness, all this analysis will go out of the window. First, you need to understand thoughts are made of combination of pure states of matter. This statement you have to reflect 10,000 times until it strikes you. Thoughts are made of combination of pure states of matter. So you write this one statement and then you see the pure state of matter, what we earlier discussed, what are the 5 pure states of matter, 5 fundamental pure states of matter. This combination is nothing but your thoughts. Again, last time I gave an example, I will bring the same example for you to visualize what is pure state of matter. For example, this particular glass contains certain amount of water. Now, water are liquid state, fine. Now, as of temporarily you forget the form of the glass and all into it. Just only analyze the water content. This water, if it has to be pure state of water, how it can exist? The sense, this same amount of water, pure state, what we defined earlier, anything pure, if it is pure, it should not have the rest of the 4 states of matter an aspect in it. Only then you can call it as pure state of water or pure state of liquid. First, the whole thing is defined because this amount of water occupies space. So this water has space component in it. So it's not pure water. This water has some temperature, whether it is cold, freezing cold or boiling hot, it holds certain amount of the concept of temperature, the aspect of temperature this water holds, isn't it? So there is fire aspect in it. Then it holds certain amount of gas in it, isn't it? It will hold. If you go analyze microscopically, gas component will be embedded in it. Then is it 100% H2O liquid state? It has trace elements, other solid particles will be in it. So this, how much ever pure water, the purest of pure water that you can obtain in gross universe will always have rest of the 4 states of matter in it. Do you agree? This until this point you will all can agree, right? Now you have to use your intellect and think where you can find pure state of water or liquid, where it can exist, pure state of water, where it doesn't have rest of the 4 components in it. It can be only available in thought form. Until this point you agree? Fine. Now, next question is, okay, pure state of water is available in my thought. But how can you say that thoughts are made of matter? Again, this is little more tricky. Once if you cross this concept, then the whole, to understand the rest of it will be cakewalk. In your thought, the pure state of water, that same amount of water existing without occupying space, there won't be any temperature component in it, there won't be any gas component or trace element or rest of the four. It won't, first of all, it won't occupy a space. Fine. Now in that thought, remove this pure, whatever that you thought, that pure state of matter, that pure state of water. Whatever I said, it's available in thought form. Whatever you see as thought, in that thought, remove this pure state of matter. In earlier instance, I said nothing will remain. No, only the consciousness will remain, right? In that combination, in whatever you thought about this pure state of matter, that it doesn't occupy space, it doesn't have temperature component in it and rest of it. In that, if you remove that pure state of matter, thought doesn't exist. Thought doesn't exist, only consciousness. What remains is consciousness. We are not getting into that consciousness again. We are only analyzing to prove thoughts are made of combination of pure state of matter. Now, with this example, now you think of anything in the world, including your feelings. In feelings, what all that comes in, that has to be combination of the 5 pure states of matter. Anything you think, in that thought, in that cluster of thought, you think for 5 minutes or you think for 30 seconds, in that 30 seconds, you would have a pool of thoughts, right? As a bundle of thoughts or a bucket of thoughts. In that entire bucket of thoughts, remove combination of the pure states of matter. Nothing will be remaining. If nothing will be remaining, then your thoughts are made of those pure states of matter. Okay, so I leave it here. Perhaps you can rewind and check, discuss. For me, English is not my language. I'm not a native speaking English. Even this English itself is bad, what I'm trying to convey. But to an extent, I tried to convey thoughts are made of pure states of matter. You think about it, once you are 100% convinced on that, then it will be easy to move forward. Even if you are not convinced about what I said, I'm not saying you take it for granted, you take it with a pinch of salt, you assume, no, I wouldn't say use the word assume, you just, time being, understand thoughts are made of combination of pure states of matter, and then when we move along, it will be easy to understand the subtle Big Bang, then the gross Big Bang.